All right, we're back. Welcome back to the Lost in Stupidity podcast. I'm your host, Turner the Murner. I'm joined by the boss, the one Chris Bozeman. How you doing?
Doing great, brother. Good to see you.
And the one Hillbilly Howard. He sits to my right.
Hello, darling.
Nice to see you. Anyway, we are broadcasting and podcasting, and we are like ZZ Top. We are bad at nationwide.
Yeah.
But today, fellas, we're going to go ahead and make people mad right out of the gate. But just, it's worth talking about, and I think there's a lesson to be learned here. Again, I don't want to get too preachy today already, but we're going to talk about the rise and fall of one local legend, Carl Ray Hollifield. So, Will, as an outdoorsman, like myself, he's followed Carl Ray a while now, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't know the exact time because it feels like forever, but he's a personality you see pop up time and time again.
And Chris is going to be coming. He's our, what do they call it, a blind test study or something like that?
Yeah.
Because you're not really in the outdoors as much as we are. You're not a big hunter.
Right.
And you have no clue who Carl Ray is, correct?
No, I have no idea. When you say Holyfield, I think about the boxer.
You know, my wife made that same joke earlier.
Oh,
so, anyway.
Well, that I shouldn't have made it. I regret that, folks.
But let's get right into it. For those listening who are not from Mississippi, we're going to tell you who he is, how he got famous, what is going on, and I want to get out in front of this. If you are a turkey hunter and listening, I'm not picking a side in this. This has been very controversial in our area. Carl Ray, I hope you give us a listen. I'm not anti-Carl Ray. Let me say that out front. And that, me just saying that, I just made people mad. I'm not picking a side in this. I'm going to tell what has happened and what the different sides of the story are. And I think there's a lesson to be learned from it. So with that, let's get into it. You got something you want to add?
I was just going to chime in. It's like, what do you mean you don't hate the same people I hate?
Right.
It's ridiculous.
We'll get into it. So who is Carl Ray? So Carl Ray started, I guess, in the 90s, early 2000s. He became a internet personality, kind of in a way before that was a thing. He blew up on Facebook. And in some ways, whatever you think of Carl Ray, it's kind of impressive that he built a social media following kind of before YouTubers and Instagram, and he doesn't use those platforms that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I just want to chime in. I believe it was 2018.
Was it that late when he started?
I think it was 2018 when he kicked it off, and it's just Facebook to my knowledge.
I thought it was further back than that.
Nah, obviously, he's been doing it since he was knee high. But
okay, that may be the misunderstanding. Okay, and we're wrong right out of the gate. Shock and awe there.
But we are presenting facts, folks. This is facts.
right. But
it's a fact. Don't Google us. The Mormon Church.
And right out of the gate, send that email to Will Howard at LostStupidityPodcast.com.
Fight me.
You do realize, never mind. I'll have that conversation.
Meet me at your local Waffle House.
Oh, my gosh.
Stop, Will, stop. Good gracious.
Somebody turn on the air conditioner.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's getting hot in here, bro.
The heat's making me belligerent.
Oh, good grief. Yeah, we're dealing with a little AC issue, and Will's a little more Protestant than usual today because of the heat. And but anyway, back to Carl Ray. Whenever he got started, he's not on Instagram, he's not on YouTube, and he created this character of where he is portraying this goofy guy who's poaching turkeys. And so Realtree used to have a slogan, Realtree Camo. And, you know, they did television shows. And in regards to turkey hunting, they'd say, can't stop the flop. Okay? And also, gotcha. I think there was a Snoop Dogg song, too. So Carl Ray started saying, can't stop the hop. And it was a joke. What he was saying is like the stereotype of turkey hunters hopping over folks' fences. Because, I'm going to go ahead and make people mad. There's two types of turkey hunters in this world. The ones that cross property lines and liars. That's a joke. That's a joke. I'm sure some of y'all do it legally. That's a joke. But so Carl Ray creates
what only the ones that hunt with their preacher.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh man.
what is it? How do you keep a Baptist from drinking all your beer?
Here we go.
Invite 2 of them.
There we go. Well, at least he's spreading the love around. Now that we've made everybody mad today.
That's what this episode was about, right?
I know. Good
Gotta
God.
insult your own kind too.
Yeah, like I said, spreading the love. Oh boy, we're never gonna get through this. So Carl Ray blew up with this, what the hook gonna be? Talking about how the spurs on a turkey. For those who don't know, what the hook gonna be?
Where my birds
Where my
at,
birds
Mr.
at?
Biologist?
They on Carl Ray's wall. And it was a running joke, and he blew up and he started selling merch. And it's, again, a lot of people don't like it because they say, and we'll get into that in a minute, you're glorifying poaching. Kids are looking up to you, and we'll get into that in a minute. I can see Will. He's fixing to touch off already. We'll get to that, Will, I promise.
But I just find it interesting, the backlash, people jumping all over this guy. But these same kids that they claim are like, they're being promoted to poach and everything. It's like, I'm sure if you look at their Instagram accounts, who are they following? Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy.
Thank you.
Promoting gambling and degeneracy.
Thank you.
Versus Carl Ray's like, hey, let's go hunting, man.
And, again, some people don't agree with that.
See, and Carl Ray's, it's a joke. It's hilarious. It's so comical and entertaining.
And
Sports gambling is real. They mean it.
And that's what I want to get into in a minute. All the backlash. And again, well, let me continue. So Carl Ray blows up, and he's been an internet personality for a little while now. So a couple of years ago now, and you can listen to this whole Carl Ray side of the story. Hang on, let me get my notes. Carl Ray was recently on a podcast. It's called the Big Honker Podcast.
So
And
waterfowl hunters out of Texas, I believe.
And that is episode 977. And you can listen to Carl Ray talking in entirety of what his side of the story is and what happened in court. We'll kind of hit the highlights, but if you want to listen to his whole side of it, it is on that podcast. So, as the story goes, because all we heard on the outside was Carl Ray got a ticket for not having a waterfowl stamp. So in Mississippi, you got to have your waterfowl stamp to hunt ducks.
Sure.
I will say, there's one person in this room that has gotten a ticket for that very thing.
That's
Fun fact.
That's a story for another day, too.
It
Oh
is.
man.
But so all we heard was Carl Ray didn't have his waterfowl stamp and got a ticket, and him and the game warden got into it. And then the next thing we know, we're seeing on the news and stuff, Carl Ray's getting arrested for threatening a federal officer. And that's really all we knew. We kind of heard bits and pieces, and everybody had that's really all we knew until Carl Ray. That's all I'm going to say the facts are. The fact is that Carl Ray got a ticket. Carl Ray was famous. Carl Ray just got done serving his sentence. Those are the facts. That's all I can say. I don't know the guy. I wasn't there. Here's Carl Ray's side of it. Carl Ray said that he was at the dock and he knew one of the game wardens. He was friends with him. The guy comes over there. His buddy was like going to wave it off. Oh, hey, Carl Ray, I know you got your stuff. And the other game warden's like, I need to see your license and your stamp. And Carl Ray said, my phone's not, I don't have signal. I've got it all on my phone. Which is not uncommon.
No,
like,
yeah.
I do that now.
Yeah, I know
now,
tons of people that do
if
that.
I know I'm going to be in bad signal for this reason, I screenshot mine. But I do the same. It could have happened to me or you, Will. They want us to go digital. They don't want physical license anymore. The state of Mississippi has moved to this digital app where everything's on your phone.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've encountered game wardens where they've wanted to check it. They do not mind it being on your phone one bit. They don't mind at all.
So Carl Ray says that this game warden wants to see it. He's like, man, I'm having trouble. I ain't got signal. And he says, no problem. Goes back to his truck, and he comes back, and he's like, hey, I got it now. It's working. He's like, it's too late for that now.
Oh.
And he's like, well, I've got it now. Well, you didn't have it a while ago. I don't care. And proceeds to write him a ticket.
That game warden also said, like, I called it in with your name and information.
That's right.
Nobody in Jackson answered. That's a lie. He doesn't even need to make a phone call. He can do it over the radio. I have seen it done with my own information, my name and social security number. He called it over the radio. Somebody came back and said, yes, Will Howard, this age, this address, he has this license.
So if this, in fact, happened the way Carl Ray says, there's already some things getting out of kilter here. So Carl Ray doesn't do himself any favors, and he gets into it with the guy, and they have a little bit of back and forth, nothing. Again, you can listen to the whole interview on Big Honker. So then it rocks on, and then Carl Ray does what Carl Ray does. He puts on his goofy hat, and he goes to his shed, and he starts making videos to make fun of the situation because he's an internet personality.
Gotcha. Yeah.
However, here's where things get tricky. He makes some... apparently, the game warden may have been vertically challenged. And so Carl Ray may have referred to him as a mythical Scottish creature with a red beard.
Oh, no.
And made a comment of perhaps of him having a bad bloodline, bad genetics, and he don't need to be having no children.
Got bad genes, man.
And, yeah.
This is where the joke goes bad.
This is where the joke goes bad.
I love eugenics sprinkled into my comedy.
And here's...
that was a joke in itself.
Here's where it gets bad, and this is where so many people get fired up. Carl Ray, and he admitted it, and he says now, I shouldn't have said it, but he called him a leprechaun, said, you don't need to be reproducing. He claims that he didn't even know if the guy was married or not, but he just threw that out there like, don't be reproducing and spreading your genes around. If you need children, just see Carl Ray. And again, that's over. I'd have been mad at that.
I was about to say, that's a little over the top.
That's over the top.
Much.
It is.
That dang old coal buck.
Now look, I'd have wanted to whoop Carl Ray's butt. I probably would have. I'm just telling you.
But
however,
legally.
Well, that's where I want to go with this. So they arrest Carl Ray, and they make a big stink about it.
Supposedly, over a year later.
Yeah, this gets drawn out, and they send like 8 or 10 federal trucks down there to get Carl Ray. Like it's a whole deal.
Like he's a doggone terrorist.
Like he's a terrorist. And I'm shortening the story here. There's a lot more details.
Again, reference the Big Honker podcast episode. Right. You said 977.
977.
It's much more in depth over there.
Okay, and then they go to court, and there were several things. Again, that's the problem with this. All we have to go on really is Carl Ray's testimony, because all we've heard other than that is just this guy's an idiot, this guy's a poacher.
From state officials.
From state officials, and I haven't heard anybody show me any evidence. All we've got to go on is Carl Ray's word and their word.
Right.
It's his word. Like I don't have any recordings. I have no proof that none of this didn't happen. And it's kind of funny. So Carl Ray, right after all this hit the fan, was on another podcast. It was a local podcast at the time, and they interviewed him, and he talked a little bit about it. And they were going to have the game warden on the next week, because just to get both sides of the story. Well, guess who didn't go on the podcast?
Yeah, right.
And we don't know. And maybe he couldn't at the time. But to my knowledge at this point, I don't have any more facts to throw out there. Now, Carl Ray says that they strung all his Facebook videos together. And some of them look bad. When you put them in a certain order, him riding down the road with a beer and holding a shotgun, ooh, we're going to get your birds, acting like an idiot.
Right, yeah.
Again, I'll get into that in a second. And they portrayed him as like this crazy person. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And so he does time. I forget what all the time he did and the money it cost him, but he just finished his sentence. And here's the funny thing about that. Did Carl Ray say some things he shouldn't have? Yes. Would it have made me mad? Yes. To me, you don't have grounds for threatening a federal officer. You don't, because you don't have. Okay, he'll be on the podcast later. Go ahead.
Was the threat? There's no from what I understand, there's no threat of bodily harm or injury.
No, to me that charge seems like overkill.
It seems like overkill, and I know I can hear the anti-Carl Ray people coming to get me, but
the fact, he says mean words.
Well, here's the thing. To that point, our good friend, and he'll be on the podcast at some point, Bailey Hickman, was a Nashville Metro policeman, and that man had criminals to his face, tell them that they were going to kill him and everybody in his family and hunt them down. Where was the
where was it then?
Well, you're threatening an officer. No, that don't hold water.
This is getting really fishy. This seems like some strings were really pulled.
Extremely. Like, state. No.
And again, I'm not taking a side on Carl Ray. No, whatever you think of the guy.
I was about to say, it's a very unbiased opinion here. We don't have many facts to go on.
We don't have any facts to go on other than what I've already said. And let's go back a little further. Now, again, Carl Ray didn't do himself any favors. It was interesting. I didn't know this. I'll say, he wouldn't say their name, but I will. And I love those guys. Primos. I love Will Primos. Native Mississippian.
Yeah.
Again, we're Primos fans. I did not realize this. Apparently, Primos made a comment in reference to Carl Ray when all this was going down. And Carl Ray was fired up about it. And Lake Pickle reached out to him to go on their podcast, and he didn't go. Now, I will say, I know I'm playing Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah, it's easy to armchair quarterback.
It is. I probably would have went on that pod because of the reach.
Yes, and I'll give Wilbur Primos the benefit of the doubt and say, like, I'm more than certain he's ignorant of the entire situation.
Other than the character, he probably doesn't even know Carl Ray.
I doubt it.
So here's, again, I'm not anti-Carl Ray, I'm not anti-law enforcement, but just a 30,000-foot view of this, of the way the court case was handled and way this whole deal went down. Did Carl Ray be a bit of a lightning rod? Yes. Was there justification to do what they did to him? No. And here's the bad part. And again, I know that one person can ruin it for everybody else, especially in law enforcement. I get that. Absolutely. I'm not anti-game warden. Do not hear me say that. Here lately, in the state of Mississippi, with my own personal experience, sadly, it doesn't seem too far-fetched that some of these things could happen.
No,
and I'll leave it at that. Again, I don't want to get too far in this. I had a situation with a family member here recently, and we'll just say, I don't want to get too deep in this. We had a officer that had behavior unbecoming of an officer, and we'll leave it at that. And it was resolved. It was squared out. But the point I want to make by that is, it's not just some big conspiracy or, oh, no, that didn't happen. Everybody on the law enforcement side did everything they were supposed to do. Sadly, and I think the overwhelming majority of law enforcement in Mississippi is probably good.
Absolutely.
Top tier. But there's enough out there that this sort of junk keeps happening.
It's the one bad apple ruins the whole batch type thing.
It does.
Oh, yeah. You encounter law enforcement officials long enough, you'll eventually catch on like, oh, it's not a requirement to be smart or level-headed to be a cop. I'm not downing cops. I'm not downing the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. I'm just saying the bar is not as high as the general public perceives it to be.
Sure.
And send that email to willhoward@lostandstupidity.com. And no,
It's not even my email.
That's okay. It will be.
Now,
It will
now I'm gonna everybody. I can hear the turkey hunters lining up at my doorstep to come burn me at the stake. Now, as far as Carl Ray's content, and I'm not anti-Carl Ray. This is more of a lesson to take away from this. And if Carl Ray, you're listening, this is my 2 cents on some advice. This is the problem with being a shock content creator. Now, again, did Carl Ray do anything legally wrong? I don't think so.
No.
I know everybody, well, I'll get to that in a second. But when you're a shock creator, and there's people that make their money off of purposely ticking people off. Logan and Jake Paul are at the top of that list. Whistling Diesel, Greg Doucette. These people that make their living off of making people mad. When you do that and you say, well, it's just a character. That's just my brand. And that's true. They can probably step... I know, okay, there was an incident here recently. If you know who Greg Doucette is in the bodybuilding community, him and Dr. Mike got into it, and he was talking about, that's a character. Greg Doucette, the person, is very different from my social media character.
Right.
But here's the problem with that. People can't differentiate that.
No, you're running a risk really bad with that.
And we saw this with Whistling Diesel. Whistling Diesel got into a little something involving a jet ski, I think in 2022, and it was a big to-do. Look, that's another one of them cases. Did law enforcement do everything they were supposed to do perfectly? Maybe not. I don't know. But you made yourself a lightning rod. And I use football analogies. And I used to volunteer coach a little bit, and this is what I would tell players and other coaches. It's the same thing as if you're a football coach and you get down to the fourth quarter and you've got one play can decide the game, and a referee makes a bad call. And they may have made a bad call because they're human, and humans can be malicious. Humans can be ignorant. They can make a mistake. They can have an off day. But you can't sit there and blame them because you put yourself in a position for the game to come down to that one play.
Sure.
You didn't, the first 3.5 quarters of that ball game, you didn't do everything that you needed to do to seal it away so that the game wouldn't be decided in other people's hands. And when you're a shock comic or a shock creator, whatever, you're putting your fate in other people's hands that are angry at you.
Correct. Yeah, they stay angry at you.
Because
that's what you do. That's what your purpose is in this.
Right, wrong, or indifferent.
Oh, yeah. But, to play devil's advocate for just the general viewer and consumer, you don't have to fall for the rage bait every time. If you fall for it every time, you know what that makes you? It makes you a sucker.
Well, people are dumb.
Exactly.
There's 3 dummies sitting in this room.
To me, it blows my mind how people watch Carl Ray's content and just get infuriated. Like, you cannot tell that this is a joke.
Yeah,
this is
dude
a character.
is literally luring. This is what he wants from you.
Yeah.
And that's...
Why
That's the
can't you
thing,
just
like,
laugh and watch?
Everybody has, and some people I respect, everybody has a story about Carl Ray, but nobody has any proof. Like, I cannot tell you from turkey hunters some of the stuff I've heard, and it's always under the guise of, well, did that happen to you? Well, no, but I've got a brother who's got a cousin, and he's got a lease on this land. I cannot tell you some of the stuff. And look, I don't know. I don't know. I heard one person say, yeah, he killed 19 turkeys in 1 year.
Prove it. You have, if you say these things, you have to back it up. It's Carl Ray. He's just a man. He's just a turkey hunter. He's not Carl Ray, the boogeyman of Bogahoma.
Like,
sure.
I don't care. Look, and again, I'm not an expert turkey hunter. Do not hear me say that. I don't care if you're poaching them or not. I don't know that it's possible to kill 20 birds in a year now or in the last 10 years.
I mean, you got to sleep at some point.
Well, let me reframe that. It's probably possible. I don't know that it's possible Again, he's not the boogeyman of Oklahoma. You can't kill 20 birds in a year and not get caught.
20 legal birds.
I just don't buy it.
And always get away with it?
I can't. And then I don't think before this incident, I think Carl Ray hadn't had a ticket in like 20 years.
Yeah, he said he was a young man when he got a ticket.
Like, as many game cameras and as many people hunting, as many iPhones, and I just don't buy it. Like, he would have got caught. I don't think, no offense, Carl Ray, if you're listening, I mean, no offense by this. I don't think he's a criminal mastermind.
Sure.
Will, you brought it up right off the bat. Everybody's saying, well, he's a bad influence. He's a bad influence. People are looking up to him. And again, I'm not defending his content. I just got through telling you why that type of content is a bad idea. I just got through saying that. However, I just don't buy. Look, it's that age-old argument of like, is rock music making teenagers do bad things, or were teenagers going to do bad things anyway? It's the same argument we've been having since the 1950s.
Sure, yeah.
Are you really concerned about his content, or are you just mad and you're just trying to find something to complain about him?
And that's another point, and I'm thinking, good gracious, we're going to get so much hate for this.
Here's another food for thought, and another.
No one would care about Carl Ray's videos if he killed one turkey every 3 years.
That's what I was going to get at. Same reason blows my mind why people have such hate for Seek One.
Yep.
They're good. They kill big deer, and the people that hate them. I'm sorry. Are you killing big deer? Why do you hate these guys? Because they're better than you? Why do you hate Carl Ray? Because he's better than you and he kills birds?
And you know, if again, I really believe if Carl Ray never killed any birds and all he was this goofy character, nobody would care. Nobody would care. Now, that being said, I said I had a lesson in this. Again, being a shock creator's it's not my style. I don't like it. It's a bad idea in a lot of ways. Here's my advice to Carl Ray if you're listening. And it goes with a guy by the name of Chris Brackett. And Chris Brackett was that highly controversial deer hunter. You remember he had Fear No Evil? He was on
I believe so.
He was this killer, this controversial, kind of same thing. This was back before the social media listen to me. Era, thank you.
Word of the day.
And he got caught. He broke a law. And again, he's told his story about it. And that's another one of them, did he break a law? Yes, he did. Did he kind of get a raw deal on that? I kind of think he did. But here's the lesson to be taken away from that. Listen to Chris Brackett talk on Cuz Strickland's Fistful of Dirt podcast. And Chris Brackett's testimony is, yeah, I was on top of the world. Yeah, I got in trouble. They took it all away. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. Mm-hmm. Because if that hadn't happened to me, then I wouldn't be up here speaking in churches, and I wouldn't have known Jesus.
Wow.
And that's my advice. I know, Carl Ray, you know, it's been said that you recently accepted Christ. I know you've quit drinking. That's a powerful testimony. And maybe this is a time to move away from the shock creator stuff. And again, that's just a powerful testimony. God uses all things for his glory. Look, that's my testimony. And I don't want to get into too much of that right now. But I had an incident where I got in some trouble a couple of years ago. And if I hadn't went through the things that I went through, and if I hadn't been in the low point of life that I went through, then I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast. Because it took that for me to get my act together and start talking about Jesus.
That's right. That's how God works. I mean, you can't go through life expecting just good things to happen all the time. Sometimes you hit those lows.
And sometimes, and again, I'm getting in my pulpit again.
Preach, brother. No.
But you know why? If I hear this one more time, I'm going to puke. We just don't know why bad things happen sometimes. No, we know exactly why they happen. Because sometimes it takes that bad thing, God uses that to slap you up back of the head, so you do because you were so sinful, it was going to take that for you to act right. I know that's me. I say that I'm preaching to myself right now.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. It's like, it's just things just happen. It's like, never mind the fact we live in a broken and fallen world.
Absolutely.
And we are flawed individuals, and we all come up short.
Yep. Exactly right. It's,
and we naturally flock to the bad.
Yes.
Like that. We absolutely do. That.
Oh,
We naturally
absolutely.
flock to the bad. So it takes those things that are just worse than what we can imagine for God to get a grip on us.
It does. And I was listening to Rick Burgess, his Bible study the other day, and he said it perfectly. Like, have you ever been angry at God? No, I'm angry at myself. That I'm so sinful. This is what it takes for me to act right.
Man, that is
absolutely.
outstanding. Yeah.
I mean, it's like Paul said, of all sinners, I am chief.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's right.
So that's a brief overview of what's gone on to this point, year of our Lord 2025. Again, I'm not picking a side. I think there were mistakes definitely made, and they using law enforcement to make an example of someone is never a good idea. Let me be careful with that. If there's really not a serious crime there,
Hunting something that is not there.
yeah, let me frame it a little better than that. Going on a witch hunt is always a bad idea.
Sure.
Now, that being said, I would argue that being a shock content creator is also a bad idea.
Yeah, it's too risky.
It's too risky.
There's risk involved.
And again, what is you have to think too, what is your testimony going to be? What is your legacy going to be? Is it going to be the guy that nobody can stand? Or is it, again, that was Paul. We forget.
Oh, yeah.
Paul,
The Pharisees' Pharisee.
that was the Pharisees' Pharisee. We forget that Paul, that was Saul. That Saul that became Paul. That's his testimony. Like, he was this person that nobody could stand and arguably did more to advance the kingdom than maybe any other human in history except for Jesus himself.
And he was just fine being somebody that they couldn't stand for a moment. That's and that's what these shock content creators are doing, is they're okay with making people angry, and that's the legacy they're going to leave.
And that's not okay.
It's not okay. We live in a society that literally, draws their opinion of you off of what they see you write on a Facebook comment, or what you are behind a screen.
Right.
Perception is reality,
Yeah.
and that's not the case.
It's not.
But that's how the world perceives
It
it,
is.
and we should take that into according and just conduct ourselves in a proper way.
And and it's, again, another lesson for us to take away from this. Whether you're a content creator or not, when you go to that job, and look, again, I've got my hand up, I'm the world's worst at this, but when you go to that job this week, when you go coach Little League, or whatever it is you're doing this week, what in that moment, in somebody may only be around you for 10 minutes of your entire life. In that 10 minutes, how do they remember you? In of that 10 minutes, there's something different about that guy.
Absolutely.
That I don't understand all this about that Jesus guy, but that guy, whatever it is, that guy's got it.
That's the way we need to live our lives.
And that's the way we need to live our lives. So, we're going to, I don't think we're going to appease anybody with this. I'm sure we've offended, I think we've done a good job of offending both sides. I think that's
Sure.
Well, that was my
anything,
goal.
If anything, it was fair.
Yeah,
It
right.
was fair.
Right. But again, until next time. Woo. Have you ever seen what is it? Bedtime Stories with Adam Sandler? That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, I've enjoyed it. Again, we've got Hillbilly Howard, Chris the Boz Bozeman. I'm Tony the Burner. Until next time, this has been the Lost Podcast.
Hide your birds, y'all.
What the hook gonna be?